On behalf of organizers, IAPC, my chair, and myself, I thank all the speakers of this session, Dr. Sengupta ji, Shri Manoj Kumar Azad ji, and Rajiv Kumar ji. So because we are running very short in time, so I just invite 2 or 3 questions. So if you have, yeah, please.
Very good evening, everyone. I am Dilip Bera from Crane Oil and Gas, Vedanta Limited. And earlier I used to work with the National Productivity Council under Ministry of Industries and Commerce, DPIIT. My question to either means to both of you, Dr. Rakesh Kumar sir or Dr. B. Sengupta sir. As you know, every product we produce, whether it is a solar PV or maybe coal reaching to the power plant, it has a embedded energy into it. Or we can say there is a life cycle LCA approach, if we think. Now, is it not the right time, as we are in a very critical stage and under a lot of pressure from because of climate action, we need to take a lot of pressure from US and European Union especially. So is it not the right time that India should take its Indianized solution by taking a LCA approach, know what is the embedded energy into each options we are evaluating and take the decisions accordingly? Simply, it's not the ratio of hydrogen by carbon. It looks very simple, pretty simple. Coal is the criminal, it is the worst case. Hydrogen is the ideal case. It's not the per se, it's not the case. Like to produce hydrogen, various options, how much energy is going into it till its sourcing, till reaching to the consumer. Similarly, coal. So is it not the right time we take a very holistic view, LCA approach, know the embedded energy and take the decision for the country?
Thank you for this question. I think if you see the Government of India policy, especially the Ministry of Environment and Forest, Ministry of Steel and Ministry of Power, they are always considering the LCA approach for total management of the waste. If you take for example, already Ministry of Environment has done a very detailed study on the steel plant, automobile sector, mining sector, total LCA approach are being considered while formulating all the waste management policies. So I think you are very correct that we should take a LCA approach for all the environmental management practices in the country. For a specific thing, the climate change and the greenhouse gas emission reduction from the steel plants and thermal power plants, as I mentioned in my presentation, that for the secondary steel, DRI plant, LCA approach has been taken that instead of making from the ore, if you take the scrap, clean scrap for melting it and then making the steel, that will be best approach where not only the emission will be less, also the greenhouse gas emission is less. So already Ministry of Steel has done a very detailed study on the whole LCA approach for the steel sector, from the ore to steel. And then this steel is used for the different purposes, like making the automobiles, making the roads, making the other buildings, etc. And again, all the steel is coming back as a scrap. And then again using this thing. A good example is the Alang, this Alang place where the shipbreaking activities is going on. All the ships from all over the world is coming there, and we are breaking it and generating about 2 million tons of secondary steel for use in the induction furnaces for making the steel. So again, this is the example of the LCA where all the ships are broken and then melted in the induction furnace to get the things. Instead of ore, we are making about 2 million ton of steel in the Alang itself. So this approach is being followed.
Thank you, sir.
Any other?
Good evening, sir. Sir, I'm Gitali Kalita from Numaligarh Refinery. Sir, my question to any of you, sir, Dr. Rajiv Kumar or Sen Gupta, sir. Sir, about this carbon sequestering for abatement that we were deliberating in the sessions. Sir, carbon sequestering as the government, has they taken any concrete action plan or initiative to make this technology for carbon capture as well as carbon sequestering, be it oceanic or geological sequestration, have any action taken to make that concrete plan of action? So, wanted to know about it.
Probably, if I have understood your question correctly, in addition to plants, we are looking for, silkworms and all some kind of different kind of thing which can also take into account the carbon dioxide sequestration. Am I right?
So about it, geological as well as oceanic. So in the country, as of now, it's in a very nascent stage. So far, we know about this carbon sequestration. So any concrete action plan is been mooted by any agency or government, as well as about carbon capture technology.
So we will try to address. So geological sequestration and oceanic sequestration theoretically has been worked around. In India, we haven't done a scaled experiment as of now, but capability exists. So now the issue right now for these particularly geological and I would say oceanic sequestration is how to take care of the risk if something goes wrong. And that's where we have to come together from different disciplines to get these experiments done. Terrestrial sequestration, good experiments have been done and good amount of work also has been actually undertaken. So the whole idea of this particular event and summit is to get different set of people to come together and address this question, because it's not question of one discipline. So you need physics, chemistry, geology, some people who understand mathematics, all of these things together and then deal with it.
So if there is no question, so we can close it. So I think now we can close. Yeah. So we can close this session because there is no question. If there is any questions. Sir, I have one question actually from Sen Gupta sir. Actually, we are all here air quality experts, right? So, in all, many days, we saw in newspaper that this city is more polluted, this city is more polluted, and this is number one, this is number two. But if you look at, and we have a lot of debate on it, right? Because we never accept that this city is more polluted or most polluted, because there is no, well-accepted methodology or standard to say this. And now we are going for net zero emissions. So I think later on again, we will have the same situation. Then one country will say that I am the net zero country. And then people will say that how you estimate it. Because still today, we don't have any standardized or standard for that. So what's your comment on it? Because if the Western country will make the standard, or they will make like India will never compete or never achieve this target. So what's your comment on it?
You are talking about the air quality standard or emission standard?
Net zero standards.
Net
How you
zero.
estimate here?
I think recently it has come in the newspaper also, some Chicago agency in the Chicago, USA.
Yeah.
They have said that because of the increased air pollution, the level has, life expectancy has reduced almost 5 years.
No, my question is, for net zero estimation, still we don't have any standard, right? So tomorrow one country will say, okay, now I am the net zero emission country. But how we will estimate it? No? Again, we will have a same kind of debate like we have.
No, for that, Ministry of Environment is doing the inventory of the CO2 emission, na? the detailed emission factors are developed, and institute like Indian Institute of Science and IITs are doing the emission inventory, and these are the published reports. Government of India is submitting every third year the reports on the total emission inventory of all the sectors wise. So that is there.
Yeah, but if we say that there is a one standard should be followed to see that
That
this
is the
the
IPCC has given the emission factor, na?
But
IPCC is the international body. They have come out with the emission factor for all the greenhouse gas emissions, CO2, N2O, and other things. So, which is being followed.
Okay, so for net zero emission, all things should be followed, right?
It is the emission intensity, and then we have to see how much reduction is possible.
So if I can just resolve this in the interest of time, I think what Dr. Shankar Agarwal is trying to address is that each country has made its own estimation using a methodology which IPCC looks at it. But the internal mechanism of quality control, quality assurance in each of the countries is still wanted. And that's where a lot of work needs to be done. That's the whole point I think he was trying to make.
No, for that, I think NPL has been given responsibility to standardize the methodology.
So he was hinting
it
you
is
up
not the responsibility of the Pollution Control Board for the greenhouse gas emission. It is the NPL,
right.
I think. So,
right. So thank you very much.